In our activity today, we're going to look at the angles of isosceles triangles. And we should recall that an isosceles triangle is a triangle with two congruent or equal sides. Okay, and as denoted on this picture of the isosceles triangle, I can see these marks are the same, meaning that these two sides are the same measurement, and this side down here is the one that is different. And what we're going to do, we're actually going to construct an isosceles triangle on our piece of scrap paper. So it says using your ruler, we're going to draw a line that's 8 centimeters long. So I'm going to take my scrap paper, and I'm going to take my ruler, and make sure you're using the centimeter side. Okay, for me that's down here. And I'm going to make my line 8 centimeters long, and you can do it pretty much anywhere on your paper. Measure carefully, make sure it's 8 centimeters long. And there is 8 centimeters in length for my line. Okay, so I've got my line that's 8 centimeters long. Okay, and then on the notes it says in step 2, starting at the end of the line you just made, connect another line that is 8 centimeters long. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which end of the line I decide to go off of. You can go off of the left side or the right side, or top side, bottom side, however you decided to draw your line. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect my other line off of this end right here. And again, I can make my 8 centimeters any way I want. I can go 8 centimeters in this direction. I can just go 8 centimeters straight down. I can go 8 centimeters in this direction. It really does not matter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my 8 centimeter line in this direction. Okay, and measuring carefully and going all the way there to 8 centimeters. Good. So there we have it. Okay, these are my two lines. They're each 8 centimeters long. So these are going to be the congruent sides on my isosceles triangle. Okay, and looking back at the notes in step 3, it says label the angle formed by these two lines as angle A. Put an A inside of the angle. Okay, well, this is the angle that I've created from my two lines, so I'm going to put my A right there. Okay, and then it says, well, in step 4, connect the other two endpoints to create your triangle. So I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead and connect my other two endpoints so that I have a triangle on my paper. And we'll make sure everything's lined up nicely, and there we have it. And my lead went out. There we go. So I can now see my triangle, my isosceles triangle. And again, this side and this side are the two sides congruent to each other. And in step 5, it says label one of the other angles with B and the other angle with C. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll call this angle right here angle B, and this angle over here I'll call angle C. Okay, and now I can go on to step 6. Step 6 says color the edges of your triangle in a bright color and then cut out your triangle. So I'm going to go ahead, if you've got colored pencils or a highlighter or whatever you can use, I'm going to use a highlighter, and I'm just going to trace the 3 edges of my triangle. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's my 3rd one. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors and cut out my triangle, and I'm going to have you do the same. Okay, so here's my triangle all cut out, and what I'm going to do now, if I look at my notes, okay, now we're going to go to step number 7, and this is similar to the other triangle activity that we did. It says next you're going to rip the corners off of the triangle and make the corners large enough so that they are easy to handle. So let's go ahead and rip our corners off like we did before. There's the corner that I have labeled with C. Here's the corner labeled with B, and then I need this corner here, and I've got to make this one a little bigger since that angle was bigger. This is my corner, all right, that I have labeled with A. Okay, so I'm just going to look at these three corners, these three angles. Okay, and now I can go ahead and move on to step number 8. Okay, so step number 8 says lay angle A and angle B on top of each other. Are these angles the same size? So let me get my angles out here. Okay, and I need angle A and angle B. Okay, so here's my angle A. Here's my angle B, and if I lay them on top of each other, well, I can pretty clearly see when I line up a couple of the edges there, these are not the same size. Angle A is definitely a bigger angle than angle B. So I can say right here, are these the same size? Well, no, they're not. These are not the same size. Okay, now I'm going to take angle A and angle C, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to lay them on top of each other. So again, here's angle A. And here's my angle C, and again I'm just going to lay them on top of each other. I'm going to line up a couple of the sides here, and once again when I line up these rays, well, yeah, definitely not the same size. Angle A again is a lot bigger than angle C is, so are these the same size? No way, no they are not. Okay, now I'm going to take angles B and C and lay them on top of each other. So here's angle B, here's angle C. I'm going to lay them on top of each other. All right, I'm going to line them up. And I can see here, once I've got it all nicely lined up, that these appear to be the same size. Okay, I don't see any overlapping like I had before when I tried to line them up with angle A. Okay, these land nicely right on top of each other. So are these angles the same size? Yes, they are. Angles B and C are the same size. Now, the base angles are the angles that are opposite of the two congruent sides. These were angles B and angle C. What can you say about the base angles of an isosceles triangle? Well, looking back up here, when we laid angle A and B on top of each other, they were the same size. So since those are the base angles, we can say the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. They were the exact same size, meaning they were congruent to each other. So we just saw from our activity that the two base angles, which were angles B and C, those were congruent to each other. So again, here was angles B and C. There they are, angles B and C. And when I laid them on top of each other, they were the exact same size. Well, my other angle, which was labeled angle A, the one that was not the same size, that one right there, this angle is called a vertex angle. Okay, is the vertex angle the same size as the base angles? Well, we saw from before, no, the vertex angle was not. The vertex angle was a different measure. Okay, they are not the same size. The base angles are not the same size as the vertex angle. So what we need to do when we're working with an isosceles triangle is to be able to pick out where are the base angles. And we had just said in the last example that if we had the two congruent sides, all right, let me get my other paper out here. All right, the base angles are the angles opposite of the two congruent sides. So if I have an isosceles triangle, well, these are my two congruent sides. The angles that are opposite of them, that angle and that angle, are going to be the base angles. All right, so I'm going to label the base angles B and C, and that means my other angle up here is the vertex angle. So that's where A, the vertex angle, would be located. Okay, and I can tilt my triangle over so now it looks like this. But again, just go opposite of the two congruent sides. This will find the base angle, so here's B and C this time, meaning that the vertex angle is up here, all right, angle A. And again, I can tilt it and make it look like this upside down. Just go across from the two congruent sides. And this is where the base angles are located. So here's B and C, the base angles, meaning that the vertex angle is down here this time. So make sure that you can easily identify where the base angles are and where the vertex angles are. And remember that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. They are equal to each other.